Happy Sunday.
Happy Soulful Sunday.
Oh, that's what I should have said. Soulful Sunday, Kirst.
How are you?
I'm good. I've just come from virtual online church and it was beautiful. It was really nice. What have you done this morning? We're recording at lunchtime for people who are wondering.
Yeah, so thanks to COVID-19, we've got no specific time that we're sending out these daily podcasts. We're just recording them when we're both available and then getting them back when Jared's available and posting them where I'm available.
Yeah.
So sorry for those of you who like routine and would like to wake up every morning and hear our dulcet tones at 6 a.m. It's not happening.
No, your Monday episodes will always be there on time, but for our ISO series, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
Oh, you can be upset, but we're not going to change anything. It is totally dependent on the three of us working together in concert, which doesn't always work easily. So
far we've got one out every day, though. We've not missed a day, so kudos to us.
Yes. Yay us.
Yay, Jared.
Yay, Jared.
Yay.
Thank you. So everybody, I want you to all put your hands together and say a big thank you to Jared, because without him, these would not be happening. And poor him, who does not, he would love it if we said to him, okay, we want them by 6 o'clock every morning. He would have them for us and he would love some routine, I'm sure. So yes, thank you. Get into the Facebook page and say thank you to him, even though he's not there. We can, Thank you, Jared. We're very thankful to you.
We are. Today we're actually going to be talking through a model that I was sent on social media, and it's titled, Who Do I Want to Be During COVID-19? I've tried really hard to track down who actually made this diagram, and I've got back I can find who it's being traced to, back 4 people who have passed it on, but that person doesn't still know who made it. So if you made this, thank you. We hope that it's helpful to our community today. How would you describe it, Kirst, as a model?
Well, we'll put it in our social media, so hopefully you'll be able to see it, but it won't be until after you've listened probably. But it's 4 circles, one starting with the title, who do I want to be? And then the other 3 circles are gradually bigger than that original circle.
They're kind of like centric circles.
Yes, and they're starting on the left side of the page, so they're not going from the center of the page outwards, they're going from the left outwards.
Yes, they're centric circles that are left justified.
Yes, thank you for that. I knew you were going to say that too. I knew it. I knew it in my bones.
It's because we can finish each other's sentences.
Justified. Yes. So the premise of this is that we can grow and change in COVID-19. So, and that Amy and I were talking about it when were we talking about it? On Friday. For our Head, Heart and Home course participants, we talked about this, and we were saying that you can move in and out of these circles and go from, one's a fear zone. The first one is a fear zone. The second one is a learning zone. And the third one is a growth zone. And we can go from fear to growth in a matter of seconds, or we can slide across in and out. And we might be in growth zone for one area of our life, but in fear in another area. So we both found this really helpful. And we want to tell you that there's grace in this as well. There's always grace. You know, it's my favorite word, but there is always grace. And we're not here to say that we expect everybody to be in growth zone for the whole of COVID-19.
No, and funny that you said there's grace. The thing that I see in this is real freedom, ironically enough. I see that there's there's a real freedom from fear and a freedom to experience growth. So maybe we go through each zone and kind of talk through that. So we'll start the centric circles that are left justified, start in fear zone. So maybe we talk through what some of those things might be. And our encouragement to you is to try and identify where you are, but also to identify where you'd want to be, and maybe some things that could take you from fear to learning to growth, so that this doesn't become a period of real difficulty necessarily, but one that you grow in.
Yeah, because as much as there's grace, our heart for you is freedom, and our heart for you is to be in the growth zone. But that doesn't mean that we both are always in the growth zone, and that there isn't grace if you're moving in between the zones. So, but yes, as Amy said, our heart is definitely freedom for you, and growth for you.
Some of the things that you might identify with that are written in this fear zone are: I grab food, toilet paper, and medications that I don't need. This is when you're in fear. I spread emotions related to fear and anger. I complain frequently. I forward every message that I get. So you might be hearing your local area has a really high level of COVID-19 diagnoses, and you forward that on to everyone. And then you hear that if you wear a mask, it helps. So you forward that to everyone. Then you hear that if you don't wear a mask, it helps. So you forward that to everyone. And the other thing is that I get mad easily. Kirst, have you identified with any of those over our ISO period so far?
Funnily enough, I'm quite positive in... I am quite joyful. I try to be joyful, and I feel like that is one of my gifts. I don't display that all the time, though, particularly to the people who are the closest to me. So Simon, Emily, Oliver, and Amy don't always see my joyfulness. Other people often tell me that I'm full of joy, and they're the people who aren't always privy to my complaining frequently and getting mad easily. I have certainly, but I do feel like I am quite a optimistic person by nature. So I have not. I try nearly always to look at the glass half full, particularly with things, big things like this that I know I can't control. So and you are more than I give you full permission, Amy, to put in your 2 cents about how I have been behaving during this season. But I don't feel like I've grabbed toilet paper and medication. I don't feel like I've gone into storing mode. I don't feel like I've spread emotions of fear and anger.
No.
I don't think I've complained too much.
No.
And I certainly haven't been forwarding all the messages I've received.
Nope.
That I have had a couple of mad days where I have been unable to identify what is actually going on for me, and whether or not that was everything or if it was COVID-19 or if it was the phase of my hormones or what. So I don't feel like I've lived in the fear zone too much. What about you?
I would identify almost exactly the same as you. So when I was looking at that, I was like, I don't think Kirst has operated in most of those, but I can see that there's been moments of getting mad easily. And not necessarily, I feel like for you, similar to me, it's not been at anyone or anything. It's just been a generalised, ugh. So yeah, I think possibly that's the one that's affected me the most, is just that the dealing with strange emotions. And
emotions are strange, aren't they?
Emotions are so weird, particularly when you're quite used to some emotions, but they show themselves differently. So I'm pretty okay with anxiety and knowing how to deal with that. I've spent many thousands of dollars and hours in therapy working on anxiety. However, it's completely different in this situation because a lot of the strategies that I would use are historical and experiential. So you've done this before, you can do this again. In the past, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know any of this. So I think in the first week particularly, even as a couple, I think we mentioned probably one of the first ISO episodes, we just felt like we were really on edge. And we were saying on Friday night, we caught up with friends via Zoom for dinner, and we said, oh, that first week, man, those emotions we just didn't know whether we were coming or going. And that's really calmed down, which is so nice. And we're just into a really easy flow now, which is brilliant. And that possibly leads us to the learning zone.
Yeah, and I just before we move on, or as a way of moving on too, I feel like the fear zone was very prevalent on social media and around people for the first few weeks in Australia. And now I feel like a lot of people have moved into the learning or growth zone.
Yep.
Like it's not that heightened hysteria, and not because maybe because we all know what we're dealing with, and maybe because most people are in isolation now. So here in Australia, I think as a nation, we've moved out of the fear zone as well.
That's what I was thinking. Like, this is not just personal. This is as a family, as a community, and as a nation, you move through these.
Yeah, which also means that the countries that COVID-19 hasn't been so strong in, if it does come to them, they might still be in the fear zone. COVID-19 is quite strong in New York City at the moment. So that's not to say that if there is outbreaks in certain places in the world that you may be living in one of those places, that the fear zone may still be quite prevalent in your community as well.
Yeah.
But here, I just wanted to let you know that here in Australia, it feels, and maybe it's just because I'm in isolation and don't speak to too many people, but it does feel like we're into the learning zone.
Yeah, so we'll talk to you through a few things that are in the learning zone. So this is the next centric circle, left justified. I start to give up what I can't control. I stop compulsively consuming what hurts me, from food to news. I identify my emotions. I become aware of the situation and think how to act. I evaluate information before spreading something false. And I recognize that we are all trying to do our best.
Yeah. It's a really powerful model.
It really is.
Really like it.
Yeah, me too. So where can you give me some examples of what the learning zone has looked like for you, Kirst?
I feel like I straight away went into the learning zone in that I start to give up what I can't control. Like I can't control, I knew straight away that I couldn't control a virus, so I couldn't control, but I think that I try most of the time to already identify my emotions. I don't necessarily do a good job of identifying them, but I try to. I do try to evaluate the information before spreading something false. I haven't been very active on social media during this time and sharing things. So because I don't want to live in fear, and I don't want to produce fear in other people either. So I've been trying to do that. I do find it hard to recognise that we're all trying to do our best. It took me a while to realise that people who are compulsively consuming are doing the best, like they're doing their best, and I don't. And who am I to judge where they're coming from and what is motivating them? I think I found it really hard at the start to understand people who were hoarding food and going out and buying things that they didn't need. And now I realise that they were just doing their best, and they're just operating out of what they know.
I heard a great acronym. I think it was on one of the Mamma Mia podcasts where they talked about the AGI, assume good intentions. And I thought that's actually a really nice thing to assume of other people, is just that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like some of those in the learning zone I've done really well. Some of them I'm still not nailing. One of the first things I needed to do for myself was to stop compulsively consuming news. I found like I just wanted lots of information when it was all coming to pass. And now what I've decided to do is only get my news from two places. So I will read ABC website, or just their I just look at their app for ABC News, and I listened to Coronacast, which is an ABC podcast with Norman Swan and another health journalist whose name I can't remember, sorry. And I found that to be really good because it's not how do you say that word?
Sensationalist.
Thank you. It's not sensationalist. It's just facts, and it's quite reasonable, and they're things within my control. So I found that to be pretty helpful to reduce that. Some of the ones that I'm finding difficult is just getting routine. Not that I really want it, but we just don't have any routine in our family at the moment. Like, we're all in our pajamas, well, except for Cal, who hates being in his pajamas. But Elijah and I particularly will be in our pajamas all day and might have a shower one day at 10 o'clock, the next day at 3 o'clock, the next day at 9 p.m. Like, there's just no routine. But I think I'm learning to identify that that's actually okay.
Yeah, which takes us on to the next zone, because the next zone is the growth zone. And one of the points in that is I live in the present and focus on the future. So living in the present is trying to figure out what's okay for you today. And so living in your pajamas and having a shower at 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock is living in the present. Brilliant.
I think this growth zone is just, I feel like it should be a different colour entirely, just like golden, where you think this is where we want to be, regardless of whether it's COVID-19 or just a regular Soulful Sunday.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So let me read out some of them, or I'll read out all of them actually. So I think of others and I see how to help them. I make my talents available to those who need them. I live in the present and focus on the future. I am empathetic with myself and others. I thank and appreciate others. I keep a happy emotional state and spread hope. I look for ways to adapt to new changes, and I practice quietude, patience, relationship, and creativity. Oh. I'm going to cry. It was so beautiful.
I know, isn't it though? Like all of those things I want to be in my eulogy. Like those things you want on your tombstone. Those are never-ending things that are great to aspire to. And how much more beautiful when you're learning to aspire to it during the disciplines that we're having to practice during COVID-19.
Yeah, one of our beautiful listeners and friends, Lauren, had heard on the Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin's podcast something around who do you want to come out of COVID-19 like? And that I think Gretchen asked people to write a letter to themselves. And so Lauren had asked us to do something similar as an idea for these ISO episodes. And actually, I just want to be all those things in the growth zone.
Yeah, ditto. That's my letter to myself. Be those things.
Yeah.
Enjoy the learning zone. Like, I think that's not a zone that you want to rush through. And I think acknowledge the fear zone. So if you acknowledge the fear, just be in the learning and then live in the growth. Oh, how good will life be?
So I think that here's my way of thanking and appreciating others. So Amy, I'm really, really thankful that we're doing these ISO with Kirst and Ames, because it's helping me to have a happy emotional state, and it's helping me to spread hope. And so I want to thank you for looking for ways to adapt to new changes by doing the ISO Everyday podcast. And thank you for being patient and kind and empathetic of me and my emotional wobbles. And thank you for bringing your talents to this podcast and making them available to those in need. And thank you for thinking of others by creating this podcast. So thank you.
Oh, Kirst, all those things back at you. I think the beauty of relationships and partnerships, marriages, business partnerships, best friendships is that you be with each other in the fear zone, but you call each other to the learning zone and you cheer each other on in the growth zone. And I'm so grateful that you are that for me, Kirst. You're with me, you're calling me on, and you're cheering me on. And I think that when we all have people like that in our lives, that makes us more able to grow and change. Like, we know that we are so far from, I can't even say perfect, like it's so far from even really good. But when we're in community, we're better. And so, and also a shout out to our Head, Heart and Home members who are really being an amazing community in this time. So to those of you who are in that community, we just thank you for being part of our community. And we invite all of you, if you do want to come and join our Head, Heart and Home course and community, you get lifetime access. And it is a beautiful place to be, whether or not you can do intentional decluttering at the moment, or you need a place to cheer you on and support you and just be amazing around you.
Our Facebook community group too has been so beautiful, and it's been a place that has been really encouraging me as well. And I am looking forward to the next couple of weeks, Amy, next couple of months in ISO with you, just to see what creativity we can come up with so that we can continue to serve everybody who is connected to the art of decluttering. Whether you listen to us every now and again, or you know, obsessively listen to everything that we put out, whether you're in our Facebook communities, whether you've joined our course or any of the courses that we do, or whether you just read our weekly emails. We are so thankful to each and every one of you for being part of the Art of Decluttering broader community, and for encouraging us in our growth, and inspiring us and challenging us to be better than yesterday.
I love it. I love it. So are we doing gratefulness on Sundays, or is Soulful Sunday just a whole grateful episode?
Oh, no, we can still do gratefulness.
Okay.
I think we need to practice gratefulness every day.
What's your gratefulness?
I am really grateful to you. I just said everything that I'm grateful for. But I'm grateful to you for finding that model. I am grateful that you are willing to be flexible in doing this podcast whenever we can both find the time. I'm really grateful for everything that you bring to our business, and for the friendship that you bring to my life. So thank you, Amy.
Oh, Kirst, you keep making these gratefuls for you so deep and meaningful, and then I'm just like bombing out each time. Do you know what I was going to be grateful for? And I feel like the need to be more existential about it.
No,
I was going to be grateful for home brand Nutella. Because we don't get Nutella in our house because it just wouldn't last. All of us love chocolate and anything chocolatey, and so we just don't buy it because that's the better way for our family to survive. But I was at the shops yesterday doing our weekly shop, and I saw that Coles brand have a hazelnut spread, and I thought, you know what, as a treat, I'll get it for the kids. I know it's not going to be spread on toast. I know full well it's going to be eaten by the spoonful. And I had a spoonful just before we came on, Kirst. Oh my goodness, it's good. That's what I'm grateful for. And of course I'm grateful for you and Cal and the kids and all the good things, but I am going to be frivolous and be grateful for hazelnut spread.
That's okay. We can just keep up. I can always be the deep and meaningful, and you can always be the light-hearted, joyful.
I love it.
Frivolous one.
Frivolous. Tomorrow there won't be an in ISO with Kirst and Ames.
I'm just stirring. You can be deep and meaningful.
Oh, I know. Tomorrow there will be no in ISO with Kirst and Ames episode because you're getting a old school, normal Monday drop in your ears at 6 a.m. or 1 a.m. or whenever we drop it episode. It's called About Us, and it's basically questions that listeners have asked us. And so you just get to find out more about us. And it's a really great episode. I'm looking forward to it being aired. But that's it from us today.
Hope you have a lovely Sunday and that this has been soulful for you, that you've been able to reflect on which zone you might be living in and which zone you might be called into. We are always grateful for you to listen to us, and we would love to hear from you. So if you'd like to leave a review or send an email or hop on social media and send us a PM or a DM or whatever takes your fancy, Soulful Sunday will be made even more soulful if you connect with us. We really appreciate you.
Yes, we love you each and individually so much. We hope you have a great Sunday, and we'll be in your ears again tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
If you've learnt something awesome today, we'd love you to leave us a review on iTunes or Facebook so others can find our podcast too.
Don't forget you can see the show notes in your podcast app or over at our website artofdecluttering.com.au. So if there's anything you want more info on, check it out there.
If you'd like to join our supporter community, you can do so over at patreon.com/theartofdecluttering.
We hope you have a great rest of your day
and enjoy the freedom.